like the video.
How Much a Dollar Costs, Complexion, The Black of the Berry, I believe is the greatest 3-track run from any rap album ever. And for like the next hour, I'm just going to talk about why. That's it. That's the whole show. Derapy. The end of Hood Politics transitions perfectly into How Much a Dollar Costs. We left off our poem with Kendrick saying, while his loved ones were fighting a continuous war back in his city, he was entering a new one. This song is based off a real interaction that Kendrick had with a seemingly homeless man in South Africa. Here is How Much a Dollar Costs.
How much a dollar really costs? The question is detrimental, paralyzed in my thoughts. Parasites in my stomach keep me with a gut feeling, y'all. Gotta see how I'm chillin' once I park this luxury car. Hopping out feeling big as Mutombo. 20 on pump 6, 30 Marcellus called me Dumbo. 20 years ago, can't forget. Now I can lend them my ear or two. How to stack these residuals tenfold. The liberal concept that men do. 20 on 6, it didn't hear me.
For a song that begs the question how much a dollar is worth, the instrumental we get just sounds like real bad news. The song begins with a rhetorical question, how much a dollar really costs? The question is detrimental because, in my mind, who asked themselves such a thing? Why put yourself through this ethical, philosophical exercise that would paralyze most thoughts? I imagine it's detrimental mainly because Kendrick has simultaneously reached a place where a dollar is worthless to him because he may be jaded at this point in his career, that being 2014, of course, but also it might mean a lot to somebody that's obviously not in his position. He talks about parking his luxury car and hopping out feeling as big as Mutombo. Rest in peace. Mutombo was huge, kind of the way that Kendrick feels now that he's basically a big star. And he's also known for his blocking ability, which isn't a coincidence, just like him being African, the location of the song's story. But he's also very clearly trying to block out anybody that's keeping him from getting this gas at this station in Africa. He then thinks back to when his friends used to call him Dumbo when he was younger because of his ears. In case you did not know, Kendrick Lamar does in fact have above average ear size. He's thinking about how he could really flex on those dorks that were roasting him, considering how much money he's making now, how he's stacking these residuals. While all these thoughts are going through his head, he happens upon a man, and we're introduced to said man.
Tenfold, the liberal concept that men do. 2006, it didn't hear me. Indigenous African, only spoke Zulu. My American tongue was lyric. Walked out the gas station, a homeless man with a 70-tan complexion. Asked me for 10 rand, stressing about dry land. Deep water, powder blue skies that crack open. A piece of crack that he wanted. I knew he was smoking, he begged and pleaded. Asked me to feed him twice, I didn't believe it. Told him beat it. Contributed money just for his pipe, I couldn't see it. He said, my son, temptation is one thing that I've defeated. Listen to me, I want a single bill from you. Nothing less, nothing more. I told him I didn't have it, then closed my door. Tell me how much a dollar cost.
Is this your goat? Imagine being a random person in South Africa in 2014 and seeing Kendrick Lamar just having like a completely random interaction with a homeless man, and Kendrick Lamar just being like, get out of my face, dog, and getting in his car and just slamming his door when the guy was literally asking for $1. Crazy work.
He is not your savior.
Kendrick mentions Zulu as it is the language of the people here, and he is obviously unfamiliar with their language and customs. I also love how the word complexion is dropped, considering it's the title of our next song. Kendrick then says that the man asked him for 10 rand, which converts to $1 US. Kendrick is like, yeah, buddy, beat it. I know you're just going to use it for drugs. And this guy's like, my son, temptation is one thing that I've defeated. I want a single bill from you, nothing less, nothing more. Yeah, if somebody starts talking to me like that, I'm going to be like, you know what? You got it. It's $1. Kendrick, our boy, is like,
get out my face, bro!
This would take us to our hook. The hook is sung beautifully by James Fauntleroy, and it reads, it's more to feed your mind, water, sun, and love, the one you love, all you need, the air you breathe. Kendrick has moved way past the essentials for life, you know, things like sustenance and loved ones, and he's clearly in a more selfish and materialistic mood these days. And Genius says that this is being sung from the perspective of God. Interesting.
He's staring at me in disbelief. My temper is building He's staring at me, I grabbed my key. He's staring at me, I started the car, then I tried to leave. But something told me to keep it in park until I could see the reason why he was mad at a stranger, like I was supposed to save him, like I'm the reason he homeless and asking me for a favor. He's staring at me, his eyes follow me with no laser. He's staring at me, I noticed that his stare is contagious. Cause now I'm staring back at him, feeling some type of disrespect. If I could throw a bat at him, he'd be aiming at his neck. I never understood someone begging for goods, asking for handouts, taking it if they could.
First of all, the image of Kendrick Lamar in an actual staring contest with a homeless man at a gas station in South Africa is pretty unintentionally funny. Imagine you're just a civilian and you're like, is that Kendrick Lamar? Yeah, dude, what's he staring at? Why is he staring at that homeless guy? Why does he look so angry? You know, that homeless guy actually looks kind of nice, actually. Meanwhile, Kendrick is like, this is pathetic. Who does he think he is, asking for favors? Like it's my fault or something. Like it's my fault that he's homeless. I never got that. The disrespect is crazy. Then Kendrick talks about throwing a baseball bat at this guy's neck. Like, damn, this is not very Mr. Morale of you. But in all seriousness, being homeless is like generally pretty sad regardless of the circumstance, and the type of person that's begging on the street is someone that genuinely has nothing to lose. Like they are not concerned with like dignity or social status or anything. They're just trying to get to the next day. And Kendrick is extremely annoyed by this, which is not a good look for 2014 Kendrick Lamar.
Just popping in here, editor Derek, I just thought of this, like listening back to this. If Drake actually cared enough to even just listen to Kendrick's discography in the time between Like That and Push-Ups, this would have been a pretty good diss, dude. You're out here trying to beat up homeless people asking for $1? That's crazy, Kenny. That's not very Mr. Morale of you.
I was taking it if they could, and this particular person just had it down pat, staring at me for the longest until he finally asked, have you ever opened up Exodus 14? A humble man is all that we ever need. Tell me how much $1 cost.
After one of the craziest stare downs in hip-hop history, the homeless man says, hey bud, you ever opened up Exodus 14? You know, a humble man is all that we ever need. Dude, Kendrick, give him the $1. Exodus 14 is a story about Moses parting the Red Sea. You see, Moses, he was a humble man. He was very low-key. He wasn't like a super great public speaker, but he had a good heart, you know? And that's all that's needed to be a great leader. I mean, that's at least what the plot to Transformers 1 was. But the point is, like, this is why he got neo'd, why he got chosen. And I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? Like, I'm generally skeptical of homeless people, not because I assume they're bad, but because I know that they have nothing to lose. But give me a good Bible verse, like a good relevant one, and you'll always get something out of me, man. I'm a man of God. I love me some Jesus. And the fact that Kendrick basically crashes out on dude in the third verse just goes to show where he's at this point in his life. So we're going to skip the hook where Kendrick is not being super humble, and we're going to skip to our fantastic conclusion here.
Guilt tripping and feeling resentment. I never met a transient that demanded attention. They got me frustrated, indecisive, and power tripping. Sour emotions got me looking at the universe different. I should distance myself. I should keep it relentless. My selfishness is what got me here. Who the fuck I'm kidding?
Kendrick tries to explain himself. He says he's feeling conflicted. He's feeling resentment, but while he's never met somebody who's demanded his attention in this way, he's also frustrated, indecisive, and power tripping. But ultimately, at this point, Kendrick is telling us that he's made it this far only thinking of himself. He shouldn't let this one experience and move him off his path, right?
What got me here? Who the fuck I'm kidding? So I'ma tell you like I told the last bum. Crumbs and pennies, I need all of mine. And I recognize this type of panhandling all the time. I got better judgment. I know when niggas hustling. Keep in mind, when I was struggling, I did compromise. Now I comprehend. I smell grandpa's soul medicine reeking from your skin. Moonshine and gin. Nigga, you're babbling. Your words ain't flattering. I'm imagining Denzel, but looking at O'Neal. Cause I'm in sad thrills. Your gimmick is mediocre. The jig is up. I seen you from a mile away, losing focus.
Kendrick says the dude is trying to put on an all-time acting job, thinking he's Denzel Washington, but he's more like Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq.
Kendrick is comparing this homeless man asking for $1 to the big diesel trying to act. Wild. He says he knows a hustler when he sees one, and he's keeping everything. Crumbs and pennies, he needs all of them. This sounds kind of harsh, and you might think it may be a little uncharacteristic, but this is the same attitude he had on For Free. This dick ain't. He has the capacity for arrogance and aggressiveness, obviously, when it comes to his earnings, and he's consistent with that attitude here. It's just unfortunate that he may not have learned this lesson yet. And the old homeless man responds.
Jiggers up, I seen you from a mile away, losing focus, and I'm insensitive, and I lack empathy. He looked at me and said, your potential is bittersweet. I looked at him and said, every nickel is mine to keep. He looked at me and said, know the truth, it'll set you free. You looking at the Messiah, the Son of Jehovah, the higher power, the choir that spoke the word, the Holy Spirit, the nerve of Nazareth. And I tell you just how much a dollar cost. The price of having a spot in heaven, embrace your loss, I am God.
I washed my hands, I said my grace, what more do you want from me? Tears of a clown, guess I'm not all what it's meant to be. Shades of gray will never change if I condone. Turn this page, help me change to right my wrong.
The first few times I heard this, I honestly didn't get it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. The reveal that this homeless man was actually God, like finding that out and then listening back to this song just blew my mind. Then, like any good piece of art, you start to notice things more and more the more you go back and like consume it. All the signs were there. In verse 1, he's referring to Kendrick as his son. In verse 2, he's asking him about a specific Bible verse. And then in verse 3, he tells Kendrick that his potential is bittersweet. His journey has led him out of Compton and into a place of riches and safety and comfort and success. Then he's faced with one man asking for $1 in the motherland, and he wants to act like he ain't got time. It's crazy. How much does $1 really cost? Your spot in heaven. What a crazy ending. And the way the instrumentals like swell up as he's telling him that like you're looking at the Messiah, the Son of Jehovah, higher power, Holy Spirit, I am God. Like
10.
Masterpiece.
10.
Magnificent.
10.
10 out of 10.
10.
Then our outro is, I washed my hands and I said my grace, what more do you want from me? This is kind of Kendrick's perspective, showing he's kind of like half-assing his faith and doing the bare minimum. And the tears he sheds are tears of a clown. The song ends with him saying that he's turning the page, like help me change my rights, turn my rights to wrongs. I think this is kind of like the turning point of the album, honestly. He went all the way to Africa and was still acting up. Needed God himself to basically turn him in the right direction. And this brings us to our second song, Complexion. But before that, a word from my editor.
How much $1 really cost? That's the cost of supporting the show. We put together these episodes because we love them and the music. YouTube does not let us monetize episodes with the music in them like this, but it also wouldn't be the same episode without it. That's why we extend the option for you to support the channel for literally $1 by becoming a member. The membership tier is actually named after this song, How Much $1 Costs. You get access to the Derapy Discord exclusive post, and you support the show. And honestly, without these members, we would not be able to justify putting out, just putting hours into episodes like this. So yeah, check out the link in the description or pinned comment, and let's listen to
Complexion.
Two steps.
Complexion don't mean a thing.
This is solo live.
Ooh, complexion.
Two steps.
It all feels the same.
It's a solo live.
Complexion is another song that I think is one of Kendrick's most slept on songs. After his trip to Africa, in this album's narrative, Kendrick experienced the beauty and joy of a true African experience and is now dropping an anthem that all of his people can dig, you know? The chorus is performed by Pete Rock, and the core of the song is really just that black is beautiful. Also, as a choir kid, my favorite parts of this song is just the background harmonies that I hope you come to appreciate as well when you really just listen to them.
Dark is the midnight hour, her bright is the morning sun. Give a fuck about your complexion, I know what the Germans done. Sneak me through the back window, I'm a good field nigga. I made a flower for you out of cotton just to chill with you. You know I go the distance, you know I'm 10 toes down even if Massa listening. Cover your ears, he bout to mention complexion.
Like almost every verse on this album, you have to consider the perspective Kendrick is rapping from. Here, he's a slave working in the field who is making a flower out of cotton for a house slave. Because the track is about colorism, I think the ad-lib where the dude yells, "Sneak this in!" I think this is about how black people, at least in my experience, give each other like backhanded compliments or make statements about their complexion. This comes right after the dark as the midnight hour, bright as the morning sun line. He also mentions what the Germans done, which I don't think I need to go into detail about that for you to know what he's referring to. But then we get the last few lines from the verse, 10 toes down, which could be referring once again back to Kunta Kinte, who of course lost toes along with the rest of his foot when it was cut off so he couldn't escape. Then we get Master listening, cover your ears, he about to mention complexion. I think this refers both to the actual story he's telling, like obviously being quiet so he can sneak around with the gal, but also Master's listening as in the whole world hearing him openly try and unite black Americans and defeat colorism. Just a theory. After this, we get the chorus, and the second verse sounds similar at first, but with a slight change. And also, listen to the harmonies at the beginning of this verse. Like, just tap in.
Dark is the midnight hour, her bright is the morning sun. Brown skinned and bunch of blue eyes, tell me your mama can't run. Sneak me through the back window, I'm a good field nigga. I made a flower for you out of cotton just to chill with you. You know I go the distance, you know I'm 10 toes down even if Massa listening. I got the world attention.
Harmonies go crazy, by the way.
Kendrick repeats the beginning of last verse, but changes the second line to brown skin, but your blue eyes tell me your mama can't run, which is super sad, like low-key. I'm pretty sure this refers to the fact that the girl's light skin and blue eyes are a result of her mother being taken advantage of by the slave master. It was extremely common for slave masters to force themselves upon the occasional slave and have offspring that they believe were too white to be in the field working, but not quite white enough to be equal. Which is fucking whack. Also, after Masters listening this time, Kendrick says, I got the world's attention, which is in line with our analysis from the first verse. Let's continue.
I'ma say something that's vital and critical for survival of mankind. The feline color should never rival. Beauty is what you make it. I used to be so mistaken by different shades and faces. Then Wit told me a woman, this woman loved the creation. It all came from God. Then you was my confirmation. I came to where you reside and looked around and seen more sights for sore eyes. Let the Willie Lynch theory reverse a million times with complexion.
Kendrick says that his girl Whitney put him on game either with her existence or through a conversation that they had. Woman is woman, love the creation. Having a good woman is important, and like people don't understand how if you have an emotionally intelligent partner, they're going to teach you things that you would not learn otherwise. And I'm going to admit something crazy here that I definitely don't have to, but when I was like 17, I was dating this girl, and she happened to be a black girl. And I paid her what I thought was like a really thoughtful compliment. I just told her, I was like, you are the most beautiful black girl I have ever seen. When I said it, I meant it as an absolute compliment. I didn't think anything of it. But she didn't take it well because she's not an idiot like I was.
Dumbass.
There are some people who tell me that I sound great on a mic and legitimately mean well. But coming from certain people, there's this racial undertone of like, you know, you sound smart for a darky is basically like what I get out of it, which is fucking nuts. And it's like hard not to take it that way because you don't go around like telling white people that like they sound articulate. Like that's not a thing. That's a compliment that I receive because I'm an educated black person that went to school for journalism and whose parents grew up in the Northeast. So like I don't have like a certain tinge or accent to my voice, and people think that because of that, like I deserve more.
Like some white people feel that way.
And that is racism. I unintentionally did the same thing to my black girlfriend at the time. I had no intention of qualifying her beauty like that, but I truly believe that that was like some generational shit. Like some way or another throughout my childhood or throughout shows that I watched or content that I consumed or conversations that I had with other black people, like that made me feel like it was an appropriate thing to say. Like it was a real compliment. And it really wasn't. I didn't even know that I was doing it. And like I feel like this is important to share, like in the spirit of Derapy, an honest show, that we're all learning these things at our own pace. Luckily, I learned that lesson as a teenager, and Kendrick is saying that Wit had to teach him similar things too. I don't know at what age. I guess it doesn't really matter. It didn't stop him from like poking white girls and then rapping about it in Worldwide Steppers, saying that he's racist and that's why he was fucking white. I don't know. We have to get into that. Let's stay on this track. Kendrick mentions the Willie Lynch theory towards the end of this verse, which I was actually already familiar with, but in case you're not, this discusses the best way of controlling slaves, which is by kind of focusing on their differences, things like their complexion and pitting them against each other. As long as they are looking at each other as the enemy, then they will not unify and obviously try to escape or attack the person that is enslaving them. Kendrick is obviously trying to fight against that with this song. And after the hook, we get this really awesome interlude where Kendrick introduces the only feature verse on the entire album performed by Rhapsody.
I need you to speak your mind real quick, loved one. Let me talk my Stu Scott. Excuse me on my Tupac. Keep your head up, when did you stop? Love and die. Color of your skin, color of your eyes. That's the real blues, baby, like you met Jay's, baby. You blew me away. You think more beauty in blue, green, and gray. On my Solomon up north, 12 years a slave, 12 years of age, thinking my shade too dark. I love myself, I no longer need Cupid. Enforcing my dark side like a young George Lucas. Light don't mean you smart, being dark don't make you stupid.
Rhapsody is a person who, in an interview, talked about how when they were younger, kids would joke about how dark the other were, like black kids roasting other black kids over like how black the other ones are. She said at one point she was putting on sunscreen not just to protect herself from the sun, but because she didn't want to get mocked for how dark she got, which is so sad. Being a kid is already tough, but being black just comes with like a whole different bag of problems. Like black kids used to make fun of me, not only for wearing glasses, which is crazy because I'm just trying to see, but also because my pants were too tight, but like my pants weren't too tight. They were just upset because like all the group of black kids at my school, like in middle school, like they all had this understanding that they needed to be sagging their pants a certain amount. And it's like, I just wasn't raised like that. And also, why are you pulling up to school with belts on if you're just going to want to sag your pants anyways? Like, I'm not blaming them. Like, it was just like a cultural thing. Like, we literally just grew up different. But the point is, like, it really shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't matter. Like, they're just pants. Outside of the general racism I was getting from the milkmen in the late 2000s, I had to deal with the black kids saying I wasn't black enough. That's all I'm saying. I feel you, Rhapsody. I love the bar with at the beginning of the verse, by the way, with Stu Scott and Tupac, not just for the rhyme, but how these are two men who could not be more different as far as like their lifestyles and their professions, but they're also black men that are like universally respected. Also, Tupac mentions the title of the next song, Blacker the Berry, which he mentions in the song Keep Your Head Up, which is about uplifting black women. I mean, what a connection. What a verse.
If you don't see you're beautiful in your complexion, it ain't complex. To put it in context, find the air beneath the kite, that's the context. Yeah, baby, I'm conscious. Ain't no contest. If you like it, I love it. All your earth tones been blessed. Ain't no stress, jigaboos wanna be. I ain't talking J, I ain't talking B. I'm talking days we got school watching movie screens that spike your self-esteem. The new James Bond gonna be black as me. Black as brown, hazelnut, cinnamon, black tea. And it's all beautiful to me. Call your brothers magnificent, call all the sisters queens. We all on the same team, blues and pyrus, no colors ain't a thing.
This is the first time I'd ever heard Rhapsody, and I think her verse on this album deserves to stand alone as the only real feature verse. I love how it perfectly complements the album's empowering vibe, or rather the song's empowering vibe. Good delivery, good wordplay, Tupac gets mentioned, which is just perfect. Encourages you to call your brothers magnificent, your sisters queens. What a beautiful sentiment. I love this song, and it's placed so well after How Much a Dollar Costs, a song that puts the fear of God in Kendrick to turn it around. Then we get an empowering song like this right afterwards.
I'm sure it's only up from here.
Barefoot babies with no care. Teenage gun told us that don't play fair. Should I get out the car? I don't see Compton. I see something much worse. The land of the landmines, the hell that's on earth.
So after the sweetness of complexion, we get this outro where Kendrick paints a haunting image of barefoot babies, which sounds like the most innocent version of a being, teenagers with weapons, and then he reveals that he's talking about Compton, land of the landmines, the hell that's on earth. Kendrick is clearly setting us up for a track that's going to be a little bit more aggressive with Blacker the Berry.
Down to our knees, pray to the God, we don't believe.
So this song begins with this like monologue almost of Kendrick like mumbling to himself angrily under his breath, and it's hard to necessarily pin down exactly what character he's taking on. I think it could be one of two things, or in Kendrick's case, oftentimes it's both. I think from one perspective, he's talking about the perspective of a black man. I feel comfortable talking about this because I happen to be one myself. Being black in America at times can be complicated. Obviously, I'm not here to complain. I'm just here to explain. Implicit bias exists. People expect certain things out of you based on skin color because of, the history of the country. This goes far beyond people being surprised that I speak well, but sometimes it bleeds into people literally holding their children tighter or clutching their bag when I walk by. I have a Bachelor of Science in Journalism, and I do funny British voices for my podcast show like I have a cat. I am not a threat. But sometimes, when I was younger, I honestly would think to myself, would my life be easier if I was white? Which is like a weird and kind of unfortunate and sad thing to admit. Haven't thought that in a really long time. But when I was being bullied for my blackness by all races, when certain girls wouldn't give me a shot because their parents saw me differently, when I'd be turned down for jobs for reasons that I never learned, or when I worked at Wendy's, my white boss said I should be up front or working the drive-thru because it was a good look. Sometimes you're like, it could be easier over there. Obviously, I'm proud to be a black man. It's pretty sick. I don't have to apologize for any type of cultural appropriation. My people are so funny and so talented. I just wouldn't rather have it any other way. I'm really proud of who we are and how far we've come. But when I think about Kendrick's perspective, he's a music prodigy. He's Shakespearean with the pen, a musical genius, a millionaire. But people probably assume things about him. He's black, he's from Compton, his raps are aggressive, I want everything black, but I don't need black. Record labels and ticketing sites are probably over the moon to have people like Kendrick Lamar exist. I imagine the same people wouldn't be happy to have him expose the exploitation at the top of their companies, Culturally and societally, from the white perspective, the intro could hit different. A white person saying, I want black, I need black, I hate everything black, can refer to how some white people don't care to associate with black people at all. They don't have black friends, they make jokes or statements at the expense of black people, but sometimes they want black as a style. Ariana Grande will be black for a few months, speak in Ebonics, date Big Sean, and then remember she's a theater kid and code switch back to default, White people will say the N-word and say it's just a word, and then dab and do the jerk and the Dougie. Certain people will tap into the culture when it's convenient, when it's fun, and then dip out after they're sick of it or they find some new trending thing. This episode is going to be longer than I thought. I just realized that was literally just the intro. But the point is Kendrick is, dare I say, conflicted.
6 in the morning, fire in the street, burn, baby, burn. That's all I want to see. And sometimes I get off watching you die in vain. It's such a shame, they may call me crazy. They may say I suffer from schizophrenia or something, but oh, you made me. You black don't crack, my nigga.
Kendrick talks about schizophrenia, which is the mind breaking apart, right before he says black don't crack, which is usually used positively. In this case, it could be black don't crack yo, we gotta hold it together. Kendrick paints the scene of a riot while paying homage to the Ice-T song, 6 in the Morning, which is about a guy escaping police after they arrive at his doorstep. I think this is going to be an angry-ass song. And I also don't think Kendrick really likes the police that much. Just a hunch.
I'm the biggest hypocrite in 2015. Once I finish this, witnesses will convey just what I mean. Been feeling this way since I was 16. Came to my senses. You never liked this anyway. Fuck your friendship, I meant it. I'm African American. I'm African. I'm black as the moon. Heritage of a small village. Part of my residence. Came from the bottom of mankind. My hair is nappy. My dick is big. My nose is round and wide. You hate me, don't you?
I'm actually good. I have no hate in my heart.
Kendrick begins the verse by saying he's the biggest hypocrite of 2015, and he's kind of setting the stage for you to be very vigilant throughout the song. Why is he saying he's a hypocrite? I don't understand. What's the problem? Well, initially, I see issue with the fact that he just put out this song called Complexion that was all about loving yourself and empowerment, and it doesn't matter what your skin tone is. We still rock with you. And now he's 6 in the morning, fire the streets, burn, baby, burn.
The guy seems upset.
Once I finish this, the witnesses will convey just what I mean. Been feeling this way since I was was 16 came to my senses. Pretty obvious he's referring to his time in Compton. He says he came to his senses and essentially realized that he was going to be an enemy of America, or white America, I believe, in this situation. Kendrick initially says he's African American, and then right after immediately says, actually, I'm African. I'm black as the moon, heritage of a small village. So he starts referring to himself specifically as African to kind of like separate himself from the American image. Kendrick wants to make it clear to whoever the ops are that whatever you hate about black people, like that is in fact him. That's Kendrick. My hair is nappy, my dick big, my nose is round and wide. You hate me, don't you? I mean, I think we're cool, but like I understand what he's getting at.
You hate me, don't you? You hate my people, your plan is to terminate my culture. You're fucking evil, I want you to recognize that I'm a proud monkey. You vandalized my perception, but can't take down from it. And this is more than confession, I mean I might press the button just so you know my discretion. I'm guarding my feelings, I know that you feel it. You sabotage my community, making a killing. You made me a killer, emancipation of a real nigga.
To this day, this may be the angriest I've ever heard somebody rapping. Kendrick clearly cares about black culture and holds it dear. I think the idea is that black people are creating incredible art and trends and movement and moments, and while it's loved, it's simultaneously hated because it didn't come from white people. I want you to recognize that I'm a proud monkey. Shocks me literally every time I hear it. Monkey is obviously a term, of course, that racists use to describe black people, and Kendrick is like, yeah, I'm taking that word back too. Shit's hard. You vandalize my perception but can't take my style from me is also pretty sick. A casual may try to box Kendrick in and just call him a rapper. I think he's much more of an artist regardless of how whoever wants to market him. He's a unique creative whose art comes from his culture and his experience. The final line refers to the infamous CIA involvement regarding the crack cocaine boom in impoverished areas. Kendrick claims this turns people like him into a quote-unquote killer. Then we get to this pre-chorus.
I saw them treat me like a slave, can be black. Oh, if you feel money for pain, can be black. I man, I said them put me in a chain, can be black. I'm at you now, me gold chain full of rocks. And you don't see the whip, left scar for me back. But now we have a big whip back from the black. Oh, them I say we doom from the start, can be black. But remember this, every race start from the black. Just remember that.
The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice refers to Tupac's Keep Your Head Up, as well as Wallace Thurman's novel The Blacker the Berry. Tupac's version is about the beauty of black women, and Kendrick's version may refer to the juice as blood, and how the darker of a person you are, the more threat you may be under societally, physically, or otherwise in America. Yeah, definitely a switch from what Tupac was talking about. And I do want to talk about this chorus because it's performed by Assassin, who just does it incredibly. And today is honestly the first time I have literally ever read these lyrics, and I'm going to share them with you. First we get, they treat me like a slave because we black. We feel a whole heap of pain because we black. That's pretty self-explanatory. But then we get, they put me in chains because we black, and how you know see the whip, left scars upon me back. But now we have big whip parked upon the block. Kanye West kind of referred to this a bit in the 2013 song New Slaves from the very underrated album Yeezus, where we go from being whipped to having whips. We go from being slaves in chains to having chains full of gold. And it's a very, very interesting thing to think about how that transition occurs, how we have these like new, shiny, fun things to play with, but they're also almost a symbol of us still being under some type of binding agreement, you know? And then the verse ends with, all them say we doomed from the start, cause we black. Remember this, every race start from the black. Just remember that. Yeah, we all started from Africa, in case you didn't know. Like, literally all of us. Here's the second verse, and Kendrick is still angry.
I'm the biggest hypocrite in 2015. Once I finish this, witnesses will convey just what I mean. I mean, it's evident that I'm irrelevant to society. That's what you're telling me. Penitentiary would only hire me. Curse me till I'm dead. Church me with your fake prophesizing that I'ma be just another slave in my head. Institutional lies, manipulation and lies. Reciprocation of freedom only live in your eyes. You hate me, don't you?
I don't hate you.
Kendrick reminds us he's a hypocrite before saying it's evident that I'm irrelevant to society. Speaking of feeling irrelevant in society, when at some point you felt a lot more relevant, I'd just like to take the time to mention that it is still currently Black Lives Matter off season. Yeah. You thought I'd forget? Did all police brutality end? Is it over? Did the hashtag work? Every week or two, by the way, I think about Black Lives Matter and what it feels like to be a black person in the middle of Black Lives Matter. Do any other black people feel this way? Is it just me? Do you get this like funny feeling every time you see it trending? Like, what does that mean? What's going to happen this time? How long is it going to last before it's over and we're back into Black Lives Matter off season? But if you don't think about it that often, that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just saying I'm still black when it's not trending. Anyways, did you know that there are currently more black people in jail in America than there were enslaved in 1850? Kendrick raps, that's what you're telling me. Penitentiary would only hire me. He then refers to institutional racism. It's been well documented that African Americans for a long time after the end of slavery and Jim Crow were more likely to be sentenced more harshly for the same crimes committed by their white counterparts. And that's just not fair. I think that's hate.
You hate me, don't you? I know you hate me just as much as you hate yourself. Jealous of my wisdom and cards I dealt. Watching me as I pull up, fill up my tank, then pill out. Muscle cars like pull-ups, show you what these big wheels bout. Black and successful, this black man meant to be special. Cat scans on my radar, bitch, how can I help you? How can I tell you I'm making a killing? You made me a killer, emancipation of a real nigga.
Kendrick says that he knows him being rich makes certain people mad. The idea that someone from his background is a multimillionaire off the raps has got to be a hard pill for some to swallow. I also just like the delivery of the line where he's like, muscle cars like pull up, show you what these big wheels about. I just appreciate that part. Kendrick then ends the verse by saying, how can you tell? I'm making a killing. You made me a killer. Emancipation of a real N-word. After a little bit more of the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. And one more. I said they treat me like a slave, come here, like. We get one final verse from Kendrick where he gets very specific and he finally reveals how he's the hypocrite he's been claiming that he is throughout the whole song.
I'm the biggest hypocrite in 2015. When I finish this, if you listen, then sure you will agree. This plot is bigger than me. It's generational hatred. It's cynicism. It's grimy, little justification. I'm African American. I'm African. I'm black as the heart of a fucking Aryan. I'm black as the name of Tyrone and Darius. Excuse my French, but fuck you, no fuck y'all. That's as blunt as it gets.
Kendrick doubles down on what he's alluded to throughout the song. The hatred that he feels is a result of generational hatred, similarly to how black people feel generational trauma. Not an excuse for the haters, but more of an explanation. Kendrick reaffirms that he's as black as can get. However you mean it, however he means it, all of it. And I'm not going to lie, and I'm only saying this because it's relevant to the song, but Tyrone is a, it's definitely one of those names. Like, name one white Tyrone that you know. I'll wait.
That's as blunt as it gets. I know you hate me, don't you? You hate my people. I can tell cause there's threats when I see you. I can tell cause your ways deceitful. No, I can tell because you in love with the desert eagle. Thinking maliciously, he get a chain, then you gon' bleed him. It's funny how Zulu and Dosa might go to war. Two tribal armies that wanna build and destroy. Remind me of these Compton Crip gangs that live next door. Beefing with Pyrus, only death settled the score.
Kenny compares the tribes he became privy to in South Africa to the gangs in Compton. One could observe how the effects of racism in the late 1800s and early 1900s still affect poor black communities in the United States in similar ways to black Africans fighting to survive with limited resources under an apartheid regime. I think this is a pretty fascinating connection to make, personally. Also, call this a reach, but I didn't know, I don't know a ton about cops weaponry. I've never heard of them using a Desert Eagle though. I don't know. Somebody probably knows more about that than me. I feel like this is a callback to the Uncle Sam mentions earlier. Like, the eagle is a symbol of America. Eagle also coincidentally rhymes with bleed'em, eagle, bleed'em. So it kind of made sense that the weapon used in this scenario is a Desert Eagle, the one that's being used maliciously or gripped tensely whenever somebody like Kendrick is in the vicinity. But after describing all the reasons he feels the hate and is letting it consume him, he finally reveals why he's the hypocrite, despite his awakening and how much a dollar costs and the empowering nature of complexion.
Settle the score, so no matter how much I say I like to preach with the Panthers, or tell Georgia State Marcus Garvey got all the answers, or try to celebrate February like it's my B-Day, or eat watermelon chicken and Kool-Aid on weekdays, or jump high enough to get Michael Jordan endorsements, or watch BET cause urban support is important. So why did I weep when Trayvon Martin was in the street? When gang banging make me kill a nigga blacker than me. Hypocrite.
The entire track, Kendrick is highlighting all the ways in which white America hates him and how the feeling is mutual. He even compares African tribes to Compton gangs who were both arguably feeling the detriment of the white man's action. But as proud as Kendrick is to be black and as much love as he has for his people and culture, he's a hypocrite because, well, I'm not going to speculate on whether Kendrick is admitting to him personally being responsible for the end of another black man. But I think the me could be him. It could be someone he knows. But if the events of Good Kid, Mad City and even earlier tracks on this album are any indication, he was definitely there. He was in the thick of it. When guns were fired and lives were lost, like he was there. And it turns out that what he feels hated for, he was actually an active participant in for whatever reason. And that's sad, but I also see why it makes him angry. His actions were obviously his own, whatever those were, but how much were the circumstances of the community in his control, you know? These are 3 really deep songs. A tragic one that tells the story of selfishness, a sweet one with a tale of empowerment, and an angry one that's pretty controversial. What's your favorite of the 3? And do you think this is the greatest 3-song run on any rap album? I do. Please comment. I will read every single one of them. This obviously took a lot of time. I'd appreciate a like. And this is a friendly reminder that this episode is not monetized. If you want to support the channel, please consider supporting it for $1. I mean, how much does $1 really cost? You can check the link in the description or pinned in the comments. You can also join our $5 membership tier and become a certified therapist and get a shout out like this. Oh God. Shout out Johnny Carwash, Dre Benoit, Jordan, On the Hunt Productions, Frame Rate, DC, Ethan Throwaway Beats, Messina, Emma McCoy, Agony, Rich Mix, Nate Rubin, Stout Shaco, High 3, Thomas the Dank Engine, Cuts by Reggie, _ Zeus, Whiskey, A Dizzle 921, The Absolute Fucking Worst, Venomous, Greenberg 305, Shaggy's World 999, Blackjack Gaming, RB VS, and Light Brown Recluse. Love you. Mean it. Enjoy the outro.
No, I'm getting older, so when the world's feeling enormous on your back and on your arms, and your feet just as heavy, you've been dragging through the storm. Staring at this city, but you trapped inside the hole. Get your back up off the road, just keep swinging on.